Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3778 AN. Today's date is November 19th, 2025, and the title of the episode is Right on Schedule. Fed wants to delay cuts. The economic shift is happening. Now, we've all seen the headlines that talk about Ozempic and similar miracle weight loss shots, but what most people don't realize is this. A major analysis just found out that people who stop taking these weight loss injections gain nearly all their weight back within a year. That's the catch. These drugs only work while you're on them. They're expensive, and the moment you stop, your body fights back. This is why I like BioTrust GLP-1 Elevate, and everyone is obsessed with the weight management results I've seen with it. It helps my body naturally trigger the same hunger-controlling, craving-reducing signals that Ozempic would, but without needles, prescriptions, or the scary side effects. It also promotes fullness, helps reduce hunger hormones, supports fat loss instead of muscle loss, and helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels. For a limited time, you can grab a bag of BioTrust GLP-1 Elevate for 40% off only at trimwithx22.com. Plus, you'll also receive a 60-day satisfaction guarantee and free express shipping on subscriptions. Once again, go to trimwithx22.com to get this deal now, or just click the link in the description. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum. We know from the very, very beginning, as Biden handed off the economy to Trump, Biden continually told everyone that he's handing off a very strong economy. Now, this was done on purpose because, as we know, the Fed was in line with the deep state was in line with the Fed. They're all part of the same criminal syndicate. And they knew that the numbers were completely and utterly fake. They knew the economy was in a recession, heading for a depression. And when they handed this off to Trump, they thought Trump would take a very long time in building up the parallel economic system. I do believe the only thing that has been keeping us going into a depression was Trump's tariff system and the investments that he's bringing into this country and actually lowering the fuel price. Without that, I do believe what Biden said and what was happening during that period of time, yes, we would have gone into a depression. They would have used the excuse, look, the economy was strong, Trump destroyed it. That's what they were trying to do. This is why the Fed was holding steady and they didn't want to lower the rates. And like we said, right when the shutdown was happening, they were going to use the lack of data to say we're not going to cut the rates. And that's exactly what Jerome Powell is doing right now. He is right on schedule saying, listen, you know what? We can't really lower the rates right now because we have not that much data. We don't really know what's going on with the economy. And we might have to hold off on this one. And they're doing this on purpose. But again, it's not going to work the way they think it's going to work. You have to remember, Trump's system right now is shifting the entire economic system. And it's shifting it into his new system, away from the central bank system. And every day that passes, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, which means the central bank has less and less time to try to destroy their own system, because really that's what they're trying to do. What do you think that announcement was during the pandemic back in March? You had Prince Charles at the time, you had Klaus Schwab at the time saying, hey, this is the perfect time for the Great Reset. Their entire plan was to bring down the old system and try to restart the new system. But again, with Trump building this parallel economic system, they're actually running out of time, because what's happening with the parallel system? The economy is getting stronger and stronger and stronger every single day. And as Trump gives the people the dividend, not the stimulus, but the dividend, he's not creating new currency. He's not borrowing it from the Federal Reserve. This is money coming in from other countries. When he gives that money to the people are going to be with him. And this is going to be a major, major problem for the deep state, the central bankers, because when you have the people with you, the people who are feeling good, they see a lot of jobs opening up. They see fuel prices coming down. If you go to the supermarket, you see inflation. It's pretty much non-existent. And I do believe that with the meat costs right now, well, we have a monopoly right now, the meat packers. They are now controlling the prices. And I do believe this is why he made the deal with Argentina, because once again, they will supply the meat, they will pack the meat, and it's going to bypass the meat packers, which means you're going to have competition. And what happens when you have competition? It drives down the prices. And I do believe this is the first method that he is using to attack the monopoly of meat packers. And remember, the ranchers, they're getting screwed every step of the way because of this monopoly. And I do believe Trump is going to be breaking it all apart. But you know something that's very interesting, and this is happening out in the UK? It looks like for the first time, the majority of British adults believe the generosity of the welfare system stops people from supporting themselves. And that is absolutely true. Not just true in the UK, but true worldwide. Now, think about this. Think about what they just realized. Is this what the central bank wants? They want you dependent on their system? So this way you never, ever go look for a job? Yes, they want everyone dependent on their system. It's much easier to control the people when you're dependent on their system, because they'll say, listen, if you want more of this, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to give up. This is what you have to do. So basically, the central bank system, they figured out a way to control the masses, not just to enslave them in their system, but actually control them. That's what they've been doing. And like we said from the very, very beginning, the central bank right now is using the excuse that they don't have the data to make a decision on the rate cut. Geiger Capital put this out and says, BLS says it won't publish October jobs report. November jobs report rescheduled for December 16th. Third world data collection, the Fed is now flying blind for their meeting on December 10th. Then he follows us up with rate cut odds just collapsed because Powell won't get the data until it's too late. So will the Fed use this excuse to say there are no rate cuts here? Now, remember, how many people are working for the Fed? 20-something thousand that have PhDs? How many economists? And actually, they want to hire 3,000 more. They can't figure anything out. Really think about this for a second. I think a monkey on the street can actually figure this one out. And I do believe in the end, no matter what they do, it's not going to work the way they think it's going to work. You see, their entire plan is to try to down their own system. Trump kind of countered everything that they're trying to do, and they're still trying to do it. But Trump, I do believe he made fun of the Fed today when he was speaking at the Saudi investment group and pretty much told everyone the Fed really doesn't do that much. Actually, they really don't. The Fed is just a waste of space because all they do is create currency. They don't really manage the economy. Do you really think they manage how many jobs are going to be? Do you really think they manage inflation? No, they cause inflation. Now, as we wrap up 2025, it's a good time to slow down and reflect on the year. If there's one thing we've all learned is that uncertainty isn't temporary. It's the world we live in now. Waiting for things to go back to normal isn't a plan, it's a gamble. For over a decade, my friends at Noble Gold Investments have helped Americans protect themselves and the people they love by diversifying their wealth with gold and silver. Look, no one knows what 2026 will bring, but one thing's for sure. In an uncertain world, real wealth isn't digital. It's physical, it's lasting, and it's yours. So when you're sitting around the table this holiday season, surrounded by family, remember the best gift you can give isn't under the tree, it's peace of mind. And that's what Noble Gold delivers. Peace of mind, 1 ounce at a time. Before the year ends, take one smart step toward a safer future. Visit X22Gold.com and get your free wealth protection kit today. That's X22Gold.com. Don't leave your future to chance, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. They really don't do much. Actually, all they do is create currency. That's it, period, the end. Yes, they mess a lot of things up, but they really don't do anything to help we the people. And I think this is what Trump has been saying. This is what he said during the Saudi investment conference. But we'll be talking about that in just a sec. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that Stephen Miller, he revealed a shocking statistics that 40% of rent-controlled housing in New York City is occupied by foreign-born population, which means that the foreigners that are coming into this country, they are given the rent-controlled apartments and or housing, and the American citizens, they have to pay for non-rent-controlled apartments or houses, which actually drives the cost up. Actually, when you bring in illegals, like we've seen, it continually drives the cost of housing up. And once you start to deport the illegals, all of a sudden you're going to see salaries, wages go up. You're going to see rent go down. You're going to see housing go down. You're going to see the opposite. And the deep state, the central bankers, they have caused all of this. And you can see what Trump is doing. He's bringing in more and more investment into this country every single day. This is what he put out on Truth. It's 3 posts. It says, Jensen Huang, as I promised, production of Blackwell has started. AI invented in America, made in America, built for America and the world. Jensen Huang, after less than a year, we're now manufacturing the most advanced chips for AI here in the U.S. All of this started with President Trump wanting to reindustrialize the U.S. His tariffs were a pressing agent in making this possible. Once again, Jensen says we are manufacturing in America because of President Trump. Absolutely. So basically what we're seeing right now is that manufacturing is happening and more manufacturers are coming back to this country. And they'll continue to come back to this country. And when you look at the economy, you can see the economy is really taking off. Eric Doherty put this out and said, an incredible victory. The U.S. trade deficit under Trump plummets to a year low of $59.6 billion. The experts suffer another devastating blow. Absolutely. And then when we look at the Atlanta Fed, well, the Atlanta Fed right now is projecting in the third quarter, the GDP will be at 4.2%, a massive expansion. The economy is running hot. Think about that for a second. Go all the way back to when Biden gave Trump the economy. They thought it was going to implode. And all of a sudden, Trump was able to turn this all around. And it's getting better and better. E.J. Antonio, PhD, put this out and said, Atlanta Fed, not only is GDP currently estimated to have grown 4.2% for the third quarter, but the gain is primarily driven by big increases in private spending and private investment, not government. That is very, very important. Because what is Trump doing? He's now taking the jobs, taking the investments, taking the production, and moving it from the government and moving it to the private sector. And once again, the government, by adding all these jobs, really doesn't do much. Even the production in government is not really doing much for this economy because, again, how do they do all of this? They have to borrow currency from the Federal Reserve. And if you're borrowing currency from the Federal Reserve, you're adding to the debt. People have to pay more taxes. Are you really helping the economy? No, in the long run, you're hurting it. And I do believe this is why Trump, when he was speaking at the Saudi Investment Forum, he actually made fun of the Fed, saying it's the easiest job in the world. You play golf for 28, 29 days. You just speak in front of a couple people and that's it. Take a listen to what he said here.
I love the Fed job. To me, it's the easiest job in the world. You play golf for 28, 29 days, then you go and make a little speech, tell everybody, in the case of the current guy, the wrong information because he has no clue. But if you have good instincts, it's all based on instincts. I see they want to hire 3,000 economists, 3,000, to report to the Fed chairman. What are they going to do? Take all this information? 3,000 economists. That's why they're spending $4 billion on renovating a building that should have cost $25 million to do.
So he's letting everyone know with all these people the Fed have, all the 3,000 economists that they want to have, they really don't do much. And he's absolutely right, because really all the Fed is, the central bank system, all they do is create currency. They really have no involvement in the creation of jobs. They really have no involvement in keeping inflation down because their system is designed to create inflation. And they shouldn't be in control of lowering or raising the rates whatsoever. The market should decide what the rate should be. So what does the central bank actually do? Do you really need 20,000 something people or 3,000 economists add on top of that number? Do you really need them? No, you really don't. And this is why the first two were removed from this country. And we're about to see the third one removed from this country because once again, they do not benefit the people of this country. It doesn't benefit the country as a whole. And this is why our founding fathers from the very, very beginning, this is why they didn't put this in the Constitution. If they thought the private central bank system was the best thing ever, they would have put it in the Constitution. They specifically said the people will coin their own money. They didn't say, hey, the people will borrow their currency. And at the time, what was money? Gold and silver. Remember, they just fought a revolutionary war. They were fighting against the British government, the king. Where did the king get his money? From a private Western central bank system. And this has happened over many, many years with many, many different countries. The United States is not the first one, but right now, it might be the last one. And I do believe that with everything that Trump is doing right now, he's building the economy up so strong because he's competing with a system that doesn't work. So when you have a system that works and you're building it up and you're competing with a system that doesn't work, which system do you think is going to win? And eventually what's going to happen, it's going to become so powerful, the central bankers will not be able to stop it. And this is why yesterday when we mentioned there was 150 years of data showing that tariffs do not actually create inflation, it actually decreases inflation. The central bank is the cause of the inflation. But again, they hid this information from everyone because, again, they didn't want people to know this because you would then say, why do we have the central bank if you're causing all this inflation? And you remember, the tariff system and the central bank system, they really don't work well together. And in the end, you really don't need the central bank if you have a tariff system. And this is what the central bankers are most afraid of. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent put this out and said, Trump has driven $20 trillion in new investments so far, the largest in American history. By comparison, Biden administration brought in only $1 trillion over a 4-year period. President Trump is laying the foundation for a golden age economy with investment returning to the United States in record amounts. And think about it. Trump is continually bringing in all this money because you have to remember the deep state, the central bankers, they've been sending the money out of this country for a very long time. If you really think about this and you step back and take a look, all these countries that were telling you like, look, we're giving free health insurance to our people. Socialism is great. You know why it's fantastic? Because guess who was paying for it all? We, the people in this country. And now when you start to look at countries where Trump made deals with tariffs, where they don't have the upper hand anymore, they're struggling right now. They're struggling to make ends meet. Just look at Germany right now. Actually, you're going to see the whole EU. They're going to have major, major problems. Same thing with Canada, because they were dependent on the U.S. to run their socialist systems. And now they have to do this on their own, which they won't be able to do because it doesn't work. And this is what the people of these countries are going to start to see. Actually, they're already starting to see it in Germany. They don't even have the funds to pay for all of this. And they're telling the people, listen, you might have to give up a couple of things. So you're starting to see the entire economic system shift, not just in this country, but worldwide. And this is what the central bankers do not want to happen. And they will try to stop it every step of the way. But I think in the end, no matter what they do, the people that are experiencing the new economic system, the people that are experiencing getting the dividend, the people that are experiencing getting the higher paying jobs, the people that are experiencing lower fuel costs, when they're experiencing all of this, it doesn't matter what the fake news says. It doesn't matter what the economists say. It doesn't matter what the Fed says. It doesn't matter what the D's say. When people are experiencing a better way of life, that's all you need. And the people, they'll get it. Just like they got it during Biden's time. Yeah, the fake news, the D's, the economists were telling you that everything was great. But the people went to the supermarket and said, this is awful. What is going on here? Why can't I find a job? We were in a recession. And I do believe when all's said and done, we're going to look back in time and say, yeah, the recession started during the Biden administration. They tried to pass the recession off to Trump, but Trump countered it all with his new parallel economic system. And that is what propped the country back up and which actually allowed the country to shift in a new direction and allowed us to come out of the recession. And we're almost in a depression because you have to remember, there was high inflation, high fuel costs, and the job numbers were completely and utterly fake. And there were no jobs being created in the private sector. So how possibly could the economy be doing well? Yeah, if you're looking at it as an illusion, it was doing very well. In reality, we were in a recession. And Trump has brought us out of this recession. And now he's moving us into a new area that has never been seen before. And it's going to get better and better as time goes on. I think the year of 2026 is going to be absolutely amazing. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.